All right. This is my message to all fellow target individuals. The one thing that the enemy wants most, right? The one thing that they want most of all is for us to be fighting amongst ourselves. This is how their tactics go because obviously they definitely don't want us collaborating with one another. They don't want us meeting up with one another. They don't want us forming a militia to put a stop to this. They don't want that. That's why so much is going on. They are afraid of that because, well, technically we outnumber them, and if the masses find out about what's going on, see what really is happening, then they would jump on board on our side. Year after day, after month, after every hour, after every second, after every millisecond, people have been lied to. People have been lied to, giving these different impressions about a person or different ideas. But here's the thing. This is the general whole problem with society. The problem with society is that there are things happening amongst people at a young age. We are, as a child, when we're younger, we are exposed to these things due to irresponsible adults. This isn't just our. This can't just be our parents. This could be anybody, really. It could be anybody. And it's not to say that every parent out there is like that, because they're not. These general experiences that we are exposed to on a daily basis is what compromises our sense of character. And it is up to us to really identify this difference in between things. Otherwise, we grow closer and closer to losing our true selves if we allow ourselves to be dissolved into the fold, or in this case, be converted into the corruption that exists today, as well as it existed in past times. One of the things that they definitely do is is divide and conquer. This is what they do when they try to aggravate a target or basically attack them if anything happens. This is what they do when certain information gets out that they don't want out. This is the basis of that. Because understand, what one person knows is one thing, but what many knows is a whole different story. Is one problem for them if they got someone who is growing aware of how to beat their technology. But it's another thing when you have many who are growing aware of how to beat their technology. One person can do, it may not be much, but it can do a hell of a lot. So you can only imagine how many several individuals doing the exact same thing can, be capable of. They can actually achieve a lot more than what one person can achieve on their own. This situation though is completely unfair to a lot, man. It really is. It really is. And it's so messed up because during the days when I was growing up, I started to look at things from a perspective, and I'm trying to figure out like, wait a minute. People would just turn out to be going like have a mental breakdown. They would get into a sense of either a sense of high violence due to either a depression state or a high aggravated state. But my curiosity was to the point to where what started that? What could have caused this? And I started to see patterns of cause and effect. And as a child, right, when I was a kid, I started to understand that like people would constantly like f with you. Kids would constantly pick with other kids. It would be a non-stop basis. You could tell them to stop, but they would keep doing it. They would keep nitpicking and nitpicking and nitpicking on a constant basis, and then is until the person snaps. And then when they did snap, the person who's the perpetrator who did it, who instigated it, they would pretend like they did nothing wrong. And if they managed to get away with it, they would just do it again. This is the concept of what has caused so much conflict in the world, man. Because we're dealing with perpetrators like this, not just in the schools, not just in colleges, but also in the daily life in many different areas, man. And I believe it's like a disease. This behaviorism of perpetrations of nitpicking is more of a disease, and it's more on a constant basis than anything. It seems as though it's like it's grown into like an addicted drug, to where they just get off of really effing with people, and they have absolutely zero cares in the world for the negative effects of this. Here's how bad this is. People have committed suicide. People have gone on rampages. People have literally relationships ended up being destroyed because of this type of perpetrator's acts upon an individual. You know, several bad things have come of this, and it seems like people out there just don't take it as serious as they should, and as a result, a lot of us who are like victimized by this have to deal with this especially if you're if you're a fellow TI, you got to deal with this on a constant basis. There's no break from this. There's absolutely, literally, like zero to no break from it at all. It's just a constant thing. What you need to learn is how to elevate yourself from this, because otherwise, if you can't do that, you're not going to be able to survive. I believe the Most High was looking out for me when I started to realize a lot of this from an early age, and it's because of me realizing this from a much earlier age that I was able to survive as long as I have. There's a reason why I was able to not be consumed by a lot of the dreams that they like to sell you. They like to say, yeah, go out there and get married. Yeah, go out there and do this, do that, and the other thing. But at the same time, some of those things that you would do would be good, but there's too much negative that they have influence into that. And then when they decide that, well, they don't want you around no more, they're gonna use any little thing that they can to get to you. And let me tell you, many of these things are that. Whether it be material, whether if you either have a girlfriend or you're married, they will use that against you. If not that, if they can't get you that way, then and you're not even trying to date, they'll flip the script and go on to another narrative, such as the same sex narrative, of which is what they like to do. So if you're not dating, they'll use that as an excuse. But then when you do try to date, they'll actually go out of their way to prevent you from even dating said female. It's crazy, I know. Because first off, you can't call someone that if they're dating a female. You get what I'm getting here? Which is why any female who I have, in my personal experience, who I've came in contact with who is not a TI, it's not that the chemistry wouldn't be there, it's because of the negative outside influence that prevents it. That's what it is. So they'll be quick to call someone something, but at the same time, they'll be quick to try to prevent that person from living a life of, living their natural life, of what's natural to them, which in this case, what's natural to me was, well, when it comes to dating, would be dating a female. But it seems like they don't have that visionary aspect. So here's how I see the situation. I don't see this as a vision coming from me. I don't see this projection of judgment coming from me at all, and I don't see it coming from God. No, this projection of judgment is coming from a random individual, from people who just have an interest in me, as well as there are people behind the scenes who have an interest in you, and what their dark desires are infested with. Seems like these are the visions that they want to put into play. So they're going to do any means necessary to see that fit. This is basically someone who is drunk. Basically, whoever is responsible for this is obviously a very toxified and very destructive individual who is drunk with power. I don't think that they're in the current stasis of even being an active employment in the government, but I believe they're mostly in a more of a retirement state to where they can actually be more behind the scenes doing this, so that people won't see them doing what they're doing, making the deals, making the judge, meeting up and all this type of stuff. No, this is someone who's got to be retired doing this, and they have influence on the inside of people who are actively employed in the government currently, and that's how they're doing a lot of this stuff behind the scenes. The way I see it, when someone tries to call me something, when someone starts to say that I'm something, the way I see it, look, that's a visionary judgment coming from you. That's coming from your mindset. Those are your words leaving your mouth. Therefore, that's the projectional aspect of what you're trying to project onto me. But I never told you to think that way. I never put those thoughts in your head. You thought those thoughts yourself. And that's how you got to look at it. So that's the general scenario of, and forget my language, but the best way for me to basically point this out is basically you got to have a mindset of just not giving a damn. You can't give a damn about these gang stalkers. You need to get your evidence, yes, but you got to understand you can't be reacting to every little thing, because every little thing that you react to is going to put a vulnerability out. They're going to even try as much as they can on me, but when someone says something negative to me, the way I see it, I admire honesty. Okay, I truly admire honesty, because I don't admire deception, because most of this corruptiveness has been built on nothing but both deception and lies. That's why we're at where we're at now. You ain't gonna get nowhere like that, man. You're not. None of us are. Even in my situation, the stuff that I got now, the stuff that's happening now, to me, that's just a means to an end. Do I view materialistic things as a necessity? Absolutely not. I only view, excuse me, I only view them as a convenience and nothing more. That's it. When it comes to a job, nothing but a convenience. It's not a necessity, it's a convenience. You don't have to have a job just to live, okay? You don't. You can literally go out there in the wilderness, build a cabin, as long as you got the right survival techniques, it is possible to do this for anybody, but you got to be willing to do it. But am I advising anybody to do it? Absolutely no. In the end, it's your choice, and you need to basically view it as that. There's a time and place for everything, and one thing, because I don't have much time, but I wanted to make this quick. One thing you need to realize is that a lot of these tactics that they use, I'm not gonna go in depth about it, because, as you know, they'll use it, and that's how they do. You see, whatever I'm saying now, they're trying to keep an ear out, and they're gonna watch this anyway. They try to say, oh, okay, well, like, he's gonna react to that. Let's go ahead and use that. You see what I'm getting at? If you mention something in the video, if you talk about something in the video, if you do any of this stuff, then they're gonna use that against you. And the more and more they have to use against you, the more and more you react to, the more and more vulnerable you make yourself. And that's a very dangerous situation. I didn't get what when I first saw Brian Tooth's channel, I didn't really understand like what he meant, or not really what he meant, but how in depth of what he meant. And then I started to understand what it was when I actually did it. And let me tell you, it's one thing to have the gang stalkers be silent and just be doing their perpetrator's acts, but it's a whole nother scenario when they literally say he's not reacting right next to you. When they said that, I'm like, no way. So what I was doing was actually working, and they had to kick their tactics up a notch because of it wasn't working. I wasn't reacting. I wasn't contributing to what they were doing. And you see, this is how it's done. Just in basically, this is just basic a basic nature of just not giving a damn. You don't have to react to every little thing. You don't have to give them that sense of acknowledgement. The best thing you can do to these gang stalkers, to these perpetrators, is ignore them, because guess what? They get paid off your reaction. That's what it is. They get paid based off your reaction. I thought they get paid up per picture. I thought they get paid off to stalk you, but no, it's to get your reaction. That's precisely what it's for. It's for get your reaction, because when they get your reaction from you, they can report back to what that reaction was, and it gives them RNN data for that AI supercomputer. I don't have much time on this thing. I've got like about a good 2 minutes left, probably like one now. So I'm gonna go ahead and end this video here. But this is just an in-depth speech here, man. That's all I wanted to say. And that's basically the kind of mindset you need to have. Again, when it comes to this materialistic crap, don't view that as a necessity. View it as a convenience. It's just something that's convenient when you need to post a video. It's something that's convenient when you need to make a call. It's not a necessity. Okay? This is MM. I'm over and out.